one of the things that I've had feedback from the executive support was that they need the gift of time and delegation. And I was just like, that's so, I get that that's what you need, but it's come through more and more and more that people realize that you can't get time back. They need their time to focus on what they need to do that on, and they need to be able to delegate, and they need to trust someone to be able to delegate. So that's come through. Proven integrity and confidentiality. With the founders, I'm finding, they're dealing with big money deals. Also, if they're going into market or anything, it's all very privy information. So they need to know that these executive assistants and business partners are tried and trusted. So having a good reputation, having your references, being able to say that you do the skills is on the top of the list. EQ, emotional intelligence, so important, so underrated. To be able to read a room, to be able to sit in a boardroom and be able to look on everyone's face, being like, okay, they've tapped out, they're on their phone now. Read the room. Do you need a break? Do you need water? Do you need things? Having the EQ to know whether to speak up and say, hey, should we take 5, or sit quiet because it's not appropriate for you to do that. Resilience. Work is not always fun. So you need to be able to hang in there for the crappy times. There is going to be some crappy times ahead. So I end it on also have a sense of humor, because people want to be able to have fun with their executive assistant. They want to be able to bounce off the idea and not worry about, oh gosh, I didn't mean it that way. Like you got to have that banter, you got to have that chemistry, and you got to be able to, when they've come out of a meeting and they're all far-headed and you're like, shitty meeting, was it? And be able to have a little laugh about it. I think those are the key qualities that I keep hearing again and again of what someone wants in their business partner.
It's such a good point, particularly around confidentiality, because one of the issues at the moment with the market being so volatile is there are a lot of layoffs, and it's something that assistants are really privy to. So if you are seeing that information, then your confidentiality skills are just going to be so important at the moment, and just understanding when people are coming to you to ask you things that you shouldn't be telling them. That's a skill that's definitely required at the moment. Lily, I saw you nodding away there. Is there anything you'd like to add?
Yeah, I mean, everything you hit the nail on the head, really. But I think it's that kind of that confidant as well. It goes even further. It's like, obviously not every executive is going to need that from their executive assistant, but some do. I think, some, especially when you look at, we work with a lot of SMEs, and it's the MD or owner, it can be a really lonely place to be. And I think if that assistant really, there's that possibility to forge that relationship, they trust each other, and there's that honesty and kind of that they've got that person's back, that I think goes so far. And I think we saw that in the pandemic when, there were obviously a lot of redundancies, but a lot of assistants were kept there because they knew everything. They could get their boss through it. They could, they while they were absolutely treading water, they were the swan carrying on. And I think that, if there's that possibility, that opportunity to really forge that relationship and, kind of have that bond, that I think goes so far. I think the business acumen, knowing, being able to kind of forward, have foresight over things. I think that comes down to that EQ, that business acumen, that kind of, just wanting to understand, like truly get to know the business and the pain points. I think that's really important. I think as well, like we all talk about this, the role being proactive, but a lot of the time you can't be proactive. And I think that, the executive assistant has got to be vocal about, if they can't be proactive because they've been pulled into something else, being honest about that with their executive, because, they might be kind of tied up for a day and not having that communication with them. But actually, if they're saying, I can work on that for you, but just so you know, this is going to get pushed to the bottom of, you know, are you okay with that? I think it really takes someone that is confident and, you know, can manage expectations and be vocal, I suppose.
I'm so excited to hear that there's kind of this collective global tone and or words that are really just kind of spreading around the earth. And some of the words and terms that I use are tied beautifully to both what Candace and Lily shared. When I'm interacting with executives who, you know, are coming because they're time starved, which is, Candace, what you touched on. When I actually give leadership workshops for leaders, I'm talking about being time starved, the power of 60 seconds. You can get 120 words out in 60 seconds, which is where clarity arrives. One of the things that clients are often asking for, and they don't ask for it this way, but they're like, I need someone to know how to push back. And so I then say, you're looking for someone who has a breath of command. And within that breath of command, you're giving them, because they have to earn the authority to essentially push back, you're going to be vulnerable. You're going to be open to ideas and suggestions at the right time in the relationship, whether new, sort of in the middle of new to seasoned. And that breath of command comes to a power of a positive note. To your point, Lily, great example. Whereas if they're going to take something on because the executive is time starved, right, because there's multiple initiatives happening, they need to be able to say no to someone else positively because they've got a new objective on behalf of their executive. And I find often, which could be another tangent for another session, but you know, the people pleasing element that is very alive within the body of all these professionals. I never want anyone to stop doing it, but I want them to do it with more professionalism, to the point of Lily, that sort of acumen component. We can't be all things for all people. We need to invite the power of a positive no, so that we have some of those healthy boundaries, so we have work-life harmony, so that we can be more strategic and impactful. So for me, I'm hearing a lot of breath of command, which then ties to candor, right? Kind of being upfront, which, Candace, I love it. I think about my days as an executive assistant, and I would say to my executive, it was a straight no. There was no positive fluff around. I'm like, no, we're not doing that. He'd go, why? Because there was respect that was earned. And I would say, you can have that call in the car on the way to your next meeting. It's not an hour meeting in person, because there's no agenda, there's no objective. And so is going to turn that meeting into a conversation. And that's not going to work for us today. We don't have the time for that. So candor, breath of command. Another thing that I like to spill out when I'm doing training is, what is your executive posture? Right? When you think about your posture at the office, and sort of, if we've all seen the show Suits, or, you know, where Miranda put Andy at the end of the show of The Devil Wears Prada, right? Her executive posture at that party, when she knew right off her tongue, you know, the individual, the backstory, like that posture was so different and beautiful towards the end of the movie versus in the beginning, poor sloppy, right? So you have to kind of think about, what is your posture, and essentially also, who is your audience, that you have this shift and pivot in the posture that's necessary. And I'll just close here. The banter and candor, it's a lifeline to being human in an environment that's very robotic sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's interesting, all of the points that you've brought up there, and there is a real synergy between the three of you and the different areas that you represent, which is fantastic, because it's something that I often say, you know, it doesn't really matter where in the world an assistant is from. The challenges and the triumphs that come with the role are all so very similar.